Welcome to Allie's Attic Show, where you never know what kind of surprise you're going to find in your attic. I'm your host, Allie, and I'm so excited about this guest. He is an actor, a model. He is the busiest man I ever know. He's also got a book out called The Talk. He's going to tell you all about it. Please welcome Sanjay Raja. Hello.
Hi, how are you?
I am well. How are you?
Doing well. I'm excited to be on your show.
I'm so excited that you're here. I've had so many people saying, when is he going to be on? When is he? So now you are. Now, I touched on some of the stuff that you do. Sanjay, tell me, how old were you when you decided, okay, you know what? I'm going to make a career out of acting and modeling, and you do parkour, you do all this fitness stuff, you do the talk. Like, you were the busiest man I know.
Well, the interesting thing about that story was all this didn't happen until much later in life. I actually was, I'm East Indian, so I was born in India, and we moved to the States at a very young age. And being Indian, if you're familiar with that culture, I had two choices in life: doctor and engineer. So I had to pick one.
Mm-hmm.
And I chose engineering, did not enjoy it, but then I went into take the MCATs to get into med school, and I got in the third try, but right before I was supposed to go, I decided not to go, which caused a huge stir in the family.
Uh-huh.
And the reason being is that I realized I wasn't doing it for the right reasons. And I was doing it because of family pressure versus doing it because I actually wanted to go into medicine. So I kind of bounced around from IT to medical sales. Then I went to surgical consulting, where I educated surgeons on new surgical techniques. And then at the age of about 39 years old, for some reason, I decided one day, I just woke up and I talked to my wife and I said, you know what, I'm going to start acting. And she looked at me and started laughing at me. And she's like, are you serious? I said, absolutely, I'm serious. And so what I did was I started auditioning. My big thing is to jump right in. Don't be afraid. Just go for it, and you're going to take your punches along the way.
Oh.
And my very first audition was interesting. I walked into the audition room, and they had some Shakespearean play they had me memorize, and they said, okay, deliver it to us in your own manner, make it your own. So I delivered this thing, and literally they looked at me and said, well, that was the most interesting thing we've ever heard. They pretty much couldn't get me out of the room fast enough. So, and I realized, you know what? I'm probably going to need some acting training, because this thing does not look as simple as I thought it was. So I would do my day job. I would at night go to acting lessons, and I did that for a good solid year. And I got my big break, and that is I kept continuing to hone my craft. And I got my break. I landed a recurring role on season 4 of House of Cards on Netflix.
Ooh.
And that was kind of my big breakthrough. And it gave me a taste of what that world was like, and I just wanted more of it. So I continued the acting training, landed some commercials. And so this was at the age of 38, and then I started progressing. Now I'm 42, and I've been in acting now for 3+ years, and it's been a fantastic journey. And I also started writing my book when my kids turned 5 years old. It was a 3-year journey to write that book. And I'm a avid workout freak, if you would call it, because I like to do martial arts, I like to do parkour, I like to lift weights. So I just keep myself busy at all times. I don't like to have a dull moment.
Yeah, and reading your bio, I was just like, when does he sleep? It's like, oh my God. Okay, you were also a former MMA fighter.
I did, yeah. What happened was I was in Kansas. I grew up in Kansas to my family, and I was a high rank in Taekwondo. And I have multiple black belts in Taekwondo and Hapkido. And I did martial arts tournaments there in Kansas, and I did very well. And I got so into it that I really wanted to do more tournaments, more full contact stuff. But they didn't have anything like that in Kansas at the time. So then I actually moved to Florida because I was dating my wife long distance, and I just decided to move to Florida. At the time, she was my girlfriend, and we lived together. And there were amateur fights here in Florida. And I did a bunch of fights and had a decent record, and I just enjoyed the competition because that competition just kind of drives me. So yeah, I did some amateur MMA fights and got some great experience out of it.
That is so cool. And then we were talking before the interview about parkour. I am so fascinated with it. I just think it's amazing. how people can do that. I told you I'd fall flat on my face because I'm an accident prone person. Um, how long does it get to, like, how much do you have to practice so you don't wipe out doing stuff like that?
Well, I worked out quite a bit, honestly. My first, I got into parkour because I was working out at the gym, and there was a trainer there. Him and I became really good friends. And he said, "Hey, I want to mention something to you about how to take your training to the next level." And so he was training at parkour. And he was in his 40s, and I said, "You know what? I think this would be cool." So I started learning from him a little bit, and then I started attending some parkour classes, and I got the basics and the fundamentals, and I wiped out constantly. My God. And that's just the way it goes. But, I was in full contact in MMA, so that was really nothing to me. And, the sad part is at 40, when I started parkour, you don't heal as fast as you do in your 20s, right?
Yeah.
So there were some breaks and some lulls, but I just enjoy the challenge of it. It's a chess game of your mind. Basically, you have to get from point A to point B in the most efficient manner as possible, using the least amount of energy, all the while making it look cool. And I just loved it.
Yeah,
So
it blows my mind. When I first ever saw it, I was like, how are they, like, what? Do they have those, those harnesses on? And oh yeah, I don't understand it. I think it's amazing. You also have some Bollywood dancing experience and ballroom dancing experience.
yeah, I took ballroom dancing in college and I enjoyed it. I had some opportunities to use it, so I did. So that was a good skill to have. What happened is I went into some auditions for Hindi movies because I really wanted to get into Hindi movies, and Bollywood is huge. And I went into one audition in particular, and it was funny because they had me audition for them, and they said, "Hey, we wanted to ask you only one question." I said, "Okay, I can answer it," because I thought they were going to ask me about acting. They said, "Can you dance?" I said, "Well, I can do ballroom dancing." They said, "No, Bollywood dancing." And I said, "No." They said, "Leave." I was like, okay, this makes sense, because in Bollywood, the hierarchy of skills is you need to be able to dance, sing, and then act. Acting comes last place. So I realized I need to add that skill set. So luckily, I found a teacher that lives less than 2 miles in my neighborhood, and I started taking those lessons and learned about 5 different dances and really got into it. And I've been enjoying it ever since.
Wow, that is so cool. I love Bollywood movies. And just nobody, I don't know if anybody realizes, my grandchildren, their grandfather is East Indian. So,
very good.
yeah, when you were talking about the family dynamics and stuff, I totally understand. Now, we're going to completely switch gears because you also have extensive experience in medicine and you educate surgeons in the operating room in various surgical techniques.
Yeah. So, I decided not to go to medical school, and I decided instead to go into the private sector. And I started off in medical device sales, selling different medical devices. And then I moved more to the consulting role, where basically we would just, there's so many new medical devices out there that, surgeons need to be educated just like everybody else in different surgical techniques. So basically what I would do is I would take a particular device they wanted to be trained on. I would train them on how to use the device. We would use models, and we also did it, obviously, once they were proficient enough, in a real life setting with patients when it warranted such to use that device.
Mm-hmm.
And after a couple of training sessions, they're good to go, and I move on to the next one. So it was challenging, it was rewarding. We helped a lot of patients and met a lot of great people, and I felt like I was part of their surgical team. And yeah, I enjoyed it. It was a great experience.
Wow, that is so cool. And it's completely different from what you don't normally do. Okay, so now let's talk about the nutrition fitness part of it. You're a speaker, author, you've written the book. That's why the main reason I wanted you to come on was to talk about that and tell me about your book. So I've seen you live, I guess, pre-recorded, obviously, talking about it, and you blew me away.
Well, this all started because you'll notice with me, everything happens because of an interesting story. So I've got a lot of stories for you. And what happened was my kids were born, and I had twins, boy and girl. I've been blessed with just two amazing kids. And at the time, I felt helpless, like as a father. And I know a lot of fathers can relate to this. My wife was doing everything. My in-laws were doing everything, feeding them, bathing them, changing them. I just felt like I had to go to work, come back, bring a paycheck, do the night feeding, and be done. Because I was pretty much worthless everywhere else. Because I didn't want to make a mistake.
Mm-hmm.
So what happened is one day I was just watching them feed my children, my wife and my in-laws, and I said, you know what, this is all junk food, even though it's baby food, it's kind of junk food.
Mm-hmm.
And I see all these parents, passing this information down to each other. So whatever we learned as kids, we learned from our parents, right? And they learned from their parents, and so on and so forth. And I was at the time on my health journey, meaning I turned my diet around completely. I was off of sugar. I was feeling so much better. I was just trying to take better care of myself. And one day I looked at my wife and I said, "Are we sure this is the right thing we should be feeding them?" And she looked at me and she goes, "You're not doing it, so don't tell me what to do." And so what happened is I came back to her and I said, it took about probably like 6-7 months to really get educated on how to feed children, nutrition, and I tried to get as much knowledge as I could. She told me the same thing. She goes, "Hey, if you're not going to help, you can basically just watch me do it." And I said, "I can do it." And she said, "Fine, do it." And guess what? I took over from that day on.
Wow.
And I was responsible for the kids' nutrition. I made the meals. I did everything because I made it my mission in life to basically give families the knowledge where if you teach nutrition education, which is the most important education you can ever give a child, because they'll carry that with them through the rest of their life. Mm-hmm. Early on, mm-hmm. they won't experience what I experienced, which is I experienced a lot of depression issues from poor self-esteem from the way I look. I used to be very obese in high school, and then I became a big bodybuilder in college, and I dropped the weight down again. But I had just a lot of social anxiety issues, a lot of depression issues, and you know what? This is what kids face today, because if we don't educate them properly how to make those, food choices the proper way, then they're going to experience the same thing, and then you're fighting an uphill battle for the rest of their lives and your
life. Wow. Okay, so I love how you start off talking to people about this, and it's the name of your book as well. It is when you started, I mean, you're not only are you an excellent speaker and so educated on this subject, you're funny. You put everybody at ease. Like, just watching you talk blew me away. And your book is called The Food Talk. And how you start out when you talk is, so have you had the talk with your children? I'll let you continue that, because I'm not going to do it as funny as you do.
Well, I start off any time I'm with a lot of parents in a group setting or in a live lecture setting or interviews, and I always ask parents in the audience, I said, "Hey, how many of you out there have kids?" And more than likely everybody says they have kids. And I always ask them, say, "Hey, have you ever had, quote, the talk with your kids?" And everybody's kind of looking around and nobody really wants to answer that question. And I said, "No, seriously, when have you guys had the talk? I'm going to be very personal, make a lot of people here uncomfortable. Just tell me." And so people start raising their hands slowly and shyly. And I said, "Okay, so you had the food talk with your children." And they literally are going, "What are you talking about? I thought you were talking about the other talk." And I'm like, no, not that talk. We're talking about the most important talk you can have with your children, because this is something they will carry with them for the rest of their lives. Make no bones about it. Your influence on your children's eating habits is so pervasive that they will carry these habits with them, and then they will teach it to their children, and so on and so forth. So you are affecting future generations. That's why this is so important.
Mm-hmm. And it is very important. And I love that you talked about the depression and anxiety and self-esteem issues, because we all know that, like, I don't know, 10 years ago, and all these, maybe longer, the crisis started happening where there was so many obese children all over the world. And how did we stop this? And McDonald's, and they all say, "Oh, well, this is nutrition, and it's only this many calories." And it's like, no, it's not. It's not. So how do you, where do you pull your information from? And what is the best advice you can give somebody to, how do you feed your children?
So the best advice I give, let me backtrack a little bit.
Sure.
Where do I get my information from? Well, you know what it is? It comes from experience, honestly. You have to fail in order to succeed, right? Mm-hmm. So I drew upon what I did before I started really going all in with my own kids was just cataloging my childhood, and I realized my like addiction to sugar and carbs came from my parents, because East Indian cooking is all carbs. You know, if you're familiar with East Indian cooking, it's all carbs, very low protein. And I was a skinny little Indian kid in Kansas growing up in the meat-centric world of Kansas. All these people are eating chicken, beef, and all this stuff. And I was a skinny little Indian kid walking around eating carbs all day because I had to. That was for dinner. So I went back to inventory my own childhood. There's a chapter in the book called Cultural Foods and Comfort Foods. Make no doubt about it. That is the comfort foods you choose, which are, hey, macaroni and cheese is your thing. You learned about macaroni and cheese because your mom or your dad made that for you, and that food equals love to you. So there's a deep connection there. To me, in my household, my mom made this stupendous dessert dish. It's a very Gujarati dish. She would take bananas, grill them with clarified butter or ghee, and pour like a cup of sugar over them and put them on my plate. I could eat probably like 7 servings of these things. So I wonder where my sugar addiction came from. You know, shocking. So I did an inventory of my past, and I realized these are habits I don't want to pass on to my own children. So that was the first step. Then the second step was looking at nutrition today. There's so much information out there today on nutrition and what is healthy, what is unhealthy, that there's really no excuse for us to say, I didn't know. In our parents' generation, absolutely. The internet was just starting. It came on late. But in our generation, there's so much information. There should be no excuse why we can't figure it out at this age for our kids. So the best advice I give parents is lead by example. What you eat, your kids should eat. You should never have 2 meals in a house, meaning a meal for the adults and a meal for children, because children are always going to look to you and say, what are you eating, Mom, Dad? And guess what? They will eat what you eat because there's one meal in the kitchen and there's no special requests.
Wow. You know what, you're talking and I'm like, wow, because I was very obese. And I did it because of the situation I was in my life, and it was comfort food for me. It made me feel better. And I remember, as you're talking, because my comfort food is potato chips and dip. And I don't eat it anymore, but my dad ate it all the time. And that's where I didn't realize that till just now. Oh my God. And wow. Now I know. It's my turn. No, I'm not going to blame them, because you're right. There was no internet. There was no education back then. They were just feeding us what they thought that we should have.
And that knowledge is passed on to them from their parents. So it really wasn't their fault.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so your book is available for sale.
Correct. Yes, you can find it at the website, which explains the book in more detail. You can download the first chapter for free at www.thefoodtalk.net.
Okay, and all those are going to be up on my website. Now, Sanjay, like you go around and do talks everywhere, right?
Yes, I do. Yeah.
And you have one coming up.
Yes, I do. So I got invited to be the keynote speaker at a women's health and wellness conference in Las Vegas, which will be from October 5th through the 7th. Awesome. And they had asked me to come in because this particular speaking gathering, they're going to talk to women about all aspects of their life and health, from their mental health to their sexual health to their financial health to fitness and nutrition. So they had asked me to come in to talk to them about points of my book and discuss health, because I discuss health not only for children and families but for adults, women, people of all ages. And it's such an important topic to me because what we put into our bodies and what we consume defines us in so many ways. What we eat can make us happy, can make us sad, can make us full of energy, can make us sleep in bed all day. It affects every single aspect of our life. If we don't give food enough respect, that is my mission right now, is to say to people, when the old adage goes, you are what you eat, it's very true on so many levels, because we're in the era of self-medicating. If we're depressed, we take a pill. If we have anxiety, we use drugs or alcohol, whatever it may be, that's your vice. But you can find everything you need in food, and you can enjoy it, it can be creative, it can be fun, and it's a bonding experience between kids and parents, because that's how we did it in my house.
Wow. That is, and you're so right, because I know even now, I mean, and we all watch movies, we like chick flicks where if a guy breaks up with them, they go grab a tub of, ice cream. And
Yeah.
so yeah, I mean, we're getting it from everywhere. I mean, not just our parents, but society as well, and movies, and I mean, it's everywhere. It's absolutely everywhere. And I totally, totally love that that you talk about talking to your kids and doing the talk when they're young and educating them and feeding them properly, because that's the only way it's going to continue
Yeah.
generation to generation to generation, and so that they grow up healthy and happy and they're not having to self-medicate with pills and stuff. Now,
Well, I'll give you a quick example, real quick.
sure.
We took a family vacation last year to Maldives, Singapore, and Bali because we like to travel around the world and show them new cultures. And I've got a lot of clients, and one of the biggest problems some of my clients have that they ask me to help fix is when we travel, they won't eat anything. I said, well, it all starts at home. When we went to Maldives and Bali, we went to eat at local places. Honestly, we didn't want to go to big chain restaurants. We wanted to really taste the culture. And my daughter and my son, their favorite food from Maldives was barbecued stingray. Now, let me put it this way: they're not eating that stingray. They're not trying all these new cuisines that's local to that culture without being adventurous. And that adventurous streak in them started at home at a very early age because I pushed their boundaries as far as what they're eating every day. And you know what? Sometimes I fail. Sometimes I win because sometimes they're like, Dad, we don't like this. Okay, move on to the next one. But guess what? They have to try everything at least once. And in the book, it's been proven you need at least 8 touch points, meaning kids have to see the same meal at least 8 times before they actually will gravitate towards it. And so most parents take the path of least resistance, which is, oh, they don't like it, move on to something else, never bring it up again. I took the path of most resistance, and you know what? I can travel with them in any culture, in any part of the world, drop them there with me. We can eat anything without hesitation.
Wow. So the fussy kid thing is gone as well.
There's no such thing as a fussy. I'm a staunch believer that we create fussy kids. There's no such thing as a picky eater. We create picky eaters.
Yeah, we do, because my daughter won't eat certain food that I won't eat, and my granddaughter. That is you're blowing me away. I'm just telling you right now. Okay, so do you still do podcast? Are you still guests on podcasts as well?
Yeah, I guess I do some podcasts here and there. I'm doing just a bunch of interviews coming up the next couple of months, so you'll see me kind of all over the place.
Awesome. Well, and you deserve to be. You need to be, because we need to have the talk because it's so important. Now, if based on everything, like you've already given us so much advice, but based on everything that you've done with acting and fitness and modeling and like, good Lord, man, like seriously, you're so busy. What kind of advice would you give somebody? Like life advice or just advice about entertainment or, doing the book, whatever kind of advice you want to give, Sanjay?
That's a great question. I'll tell you the advice I got that changed everything for me. And it was very simple. What happened was I was 38 years old. I was making a 6-figure job in the medical industry as a medical surgical consultant. I had worked for different companies and I was pretty set in my career. But I realized something. I was not happy. I clocked in, I clocked out. I look forward to the weekends to basically shed myself of the job responsibilities. And there was something missing. There was always something missing. And what I realized one day was I was talking to my wife and I said to her, I said, God, you are so tired. She's a physician assistant in the ER. And I said, you're so tired. You work these crazy hours, these crazy shifts. And I said, you look worn out, you're tired, but you love what you do, don't you? She goes, yeah, I absolutely love what I do. And I didn't have that passion for what I did. So I realized I have to find that passion. So I saw this article, and this article showed there was an interview done with people who had terminal illnesses and the top 5 regrets they had. You know what the number 1 regret they had with people with terminal illnesses was? Not following their dreams and not trying something that they always wanted to do. And I said, I'm not going to do that. I'm 38. I'm still young. I can make it happen. So no matter where you are in any stage of your life, if you're 30s, 40s, 50s, you can literally turn the course of your life around by doing something you actually want to do. It's going to take a lot of work because I basically work my day job and work all my side hustles to get to this point where I'm doing it full time. but you know what? You can make it happen. It's never too late. And regret, not just, it doesn't just kill the spirit, it will kill your soul when you look back when you're 60, 70, 80 years old and you said, I should have done this. Well, guess what? Then it is actually too late. So don't hesitate to turn your life around because you can do it at any point in your life.
That is the most profound, amazing advice I've had on my show so far. And I'm living proof. I'm 50 and I'm doing this, and I never thought I would. And wow, I love what you do. Now, let's talk about where everybody can find you. So we've already talked about the book, and
yes.
You can go to thefoodtalk.com, right?
Yeah, thefoodtalk.net.
Oh, .net, sorry. Okay. And you can also go to your website, which is sanjayraja.com.
So you can go to www.sanjaysraja.com to see some of the stuff I've been doing on the acting side. That's my acting website.
Okay.
Right?
Is Sanjay S. Raja?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay.
Correct.
Okay. And then also there is teamnoexcusesfitness.com.
Yes. So that website is, I've got a fitness company that I've worked with clients both close to me and abroad. It is kind of the parent company. I started that company almost 6, 7 years ago as it was a hobby, but then it started to grow and grow. And as I became more involved in the fitness and nutrition side, I've kept this company. We basically, what we do is educate on proper physical fitness habits, on nutrition, on just anything related to nutrition fitness. We help all sorts of clients and customers reach their goals no matter what it is. So I work with clients via Skype, doing nutrition and meal planning. So we've got a number of clients from India to East Coast, West Coast. I can be anywhere, and we do personalized meal plans. And so we are here to help people achieve their nutrition fitness goals just through education, perseverance, and I'm your coach. I will guide you every step of the way.
Wow. Seriously, when do you sleep? Okay.
I don't. That's the problem.
Yeah. Now you can also find Sanjay on all social media under Go Big Raja. That's correct, right?
Yes.
And that's Twitter, Facebook, and Instagram.
Correct.
Okay. I want to say this is one of the best educational interviews I've ever done. And you really made me think. And I think that's good because if you're making me think, you're making other people think. And just hearing you talk and me thinking, oh my God, my dad used to eat chips and dip and that's what I eat. And, the pop and my daughter won't eat food that I won't eat. And everything you say makes you think and makes you realize, oh my God, that's right. And that is amazing. And I'm getting your book and I'm going to, it's kind of late for my daughter and my grandkids, but at least I can try.
Let me stop you right there.
Okay, good. Okay.
In the book, one important point to make is it's never too late. Honestly. It's easier when you start very early with your children, but in the book I make it a point to say, hey, you can start this process at any time you decide this is what I want to do with my kids. I want them to have an easier path in life than I did, and you can start anytime, but it all starts with you.
Okay.
It all starts with leading by example, being consistent, taking the path of most resistance, and understanding it's repetition, repetition, repetition. They're going to fight you. You're going to fail. You're going to be like, why am I doing this? This is too much work. But if you stay persistent, you stay true, guess what? The rewards you will get out of this are far greater than anything monetary you'll ever get.
Wow. I'm glad I brought that up then. Because I was thinking, oh my God.
It's such an important point. I get that question a lot saying, my kids are too old. They're never too old. I stopped eating sugar at the age of 35. I was a sugar addict for 30 plus years. So you can be done.
Wow. Okay. Well, I'm going to definitely start looking into it. Trust me. Because my grandson has ADHD and he has anxiety, and my granddaughter has self-esteem issues because she's a little overweight, and my daughter does as well. And I think this is very important, and I'm going to definitely get the book and read it. And I'm encouraging everybody, please, 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 please. And if you're anywhere near where Sanjay is going to be speaking, go and watch him. He is amazing on stage. He's electric, and he makes you feel at ease, and he makes you just sit and think. And I think you're, like I said, from the beginning of this conversation, you blow me away and you fascinate me. So I'm so, so grateful that you came on my show, Sanjay, and anything new happens, I want you to come back on.
No, I appreciate the time. I think what you're doing is fantastic, getting the word out about artists. I learned a lot about you before this interview, and I think it's fantastic. You're living the dream that I talked about, which is turning around, turning your passion into action, and building a whole career out of it. So I applaud you. But I just want to mention two things, and that is with the book and the food talk. One or two things happens when people read the book. Number one, they either accept what I say and say, wow, it really makes me think, or they get really offended because I challenge all these traditional beliefs. And it offends a lot of people because that's the way that they were taught. Whenever our beliefs are challenged, we tend to get a little bit angry. But guess what? If you just leave the door open to change, that change will be profound at every level of your life, your children's life. And secondly, we have an event, like I mentioned, coming up. It's called the Besties Weekend in Vegas, Las Vegas, October 5th through 7th. It's a weekend getaway for women to come in and just really take care of themselves spiritually, with spiritual health, mental health, physical health. I'll be doing a keynote speech. And we're also doing a book launch party for my book there on the 6th. So anybody who attends this conference is invited to the book launch party. I want to make sure everybody knows about it.
Awesome. And where can they find all this information out? Which website?
Yeah, so all you have to do is go to www.honestbirthtalk.com and just hit the register link. And you can register under my name. You'll see a link for a free ticket to the book launch party. But I implore everybody to go to the Honest Birth. It's called honestbirthtalk.com / register, and take a look at all the wonderful keynotes, the wonderful speakers we have there. I'll be doing keynote. There's so many activities for women there, and then we'll have the book launch party on Saturday, October 6th. And it's going to be an awesome party for people to mingle, share stories, and just learn from each other.
Awesome. Okay, so say that again. Is it Honest Birth? Are you saying birth isn't birthing a baby?
Yeah, exactly.
Okay, okay. I just wanted to, because I'm going to put that up there too, and I just wanted to make sure.
You're fine. It's honestbirthtalk.com.
Okay. That'll also be up on my website. I'm going to put them all up there so everybody can find out everything. Sanjay, thank you so much for taking time out of your crazy busy schedule to come on my show. You blow me away. So thank you, thank you, thank you.
No problem. You can have me on your show at any time. I appreciate you allowing me this platform, and keep doing what you're doing because I think it's fantastic work.
Oh, thank you so much. Thank you. And thank you for joining me on Allie's Attic Show. Keep checking my website because, as you can see, you never know what kind of surprises you're going to find in my attic. Everyone have a fantastic day. Cheers.